In Jesus' name.
Amen.
God, we thank you for another wonderful opportunity to be here. We thank you for giving us the privilege to be alive. We pray, Lord, that all that we're going to do here today, you would receive all the praise in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Lord, all the people that are supposed to be with us, we ask that you grant them the opportunity and the privilege to be here. At the end of today, Lord, let's go home better. Let's go home motivated. Let's go home different, and let's achieve more than we've achieved before today in Jesus' name.
Amen.
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 So once again, you're very, very, very welcome. And I'm quite excited for today's program. And very quickly, I'll share my screen. Just 1 minute, please. Right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see the screen. Yeah.
Right. We are G-Light ambassadors, as we all know. We are students from both Robert Gordon University and University of Aberdeen. And we love our studies and we love Jesus as well. And we have put this seminar together just to encourage ourselves as students and grow and do more things in our career, in our lives. And these are like series of programs and series of events, that the ones we've done, the ones we're yet to do. And I don't think anybody wants to miss it. So today we're bringing you another episode, very amazing program today, very amazing topic. We've got a very wonderful speaker. So I'm hoping that we stay cute, we stay connected. And please, 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 if you know someone who is to be here and the person is not yet here, try and call the person. We've started and we're running as fast as we can. Is that okay?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Very quickly, we want to start. And I want to start by, we need to kind of ruminate over what we're going to talk about today. Writing research publications, research proposals, research, making research, writing research, publicating all what we've written and all that. So very quickly, I want to start with the first person. Right. I can see that we're still down on participants and we're just going to give them a little more time. But before that, I want to give us a hint of of all the programs that we have coming up. Just give me 2 minutes to get to that. Okay, so here we are. Next month rather, we are talking about simple tool for simple analysis. After today's topic, writing research publication, which might sound so ambiguous, but next month, what am I saying next week? Oh my God. Next month, we're going to be talking about a simple tool for a simple analysis. And following that, we're talking about relationship. I know everybody gets on the edge when we talk about relationship and everything. So as students, we recognize that this is also part of us. We will study, yes, we write publications, yes, we look for fundings and everything. But next, coming in 2 months' time, we'll be talking about relationships. So this is just to get your appetite, up and make you put all these things in your calendar. remember, it's every third Saturday of every month, except there's anything, and then we'll let you know. So after that relationship series, we are going to digital transformation, the number 2 of it. If you were here with us last year, we did something about, we did something concerning digital transformation. And with that, we are going to have a repetition of it. Sorry, my screen was not full before. So here we are. So I was saying that we have simple tool for simple analysis for next month. And next month coming, we're having relationship series. And then after that, we're going back to digital transformation number 2. Like, that program was really, really amazing. And this next one, you don't want to miss it as well. So I'm just having a look and see how many people we've got, if we can start. Razak Ademola, you're welcome. Ikunda Yofashola, you're welcome as well. So we've got quite a number of people here. And I think we can proceed, right? Are you still all with me?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Very quickly, I'll start with Bro Yakubu. Now, today we're talking about writing research publications, right?
Yeah.
And you're our boss. I want you to tell us what stands out most for you when it comes to writing publications. What's your take home when it comes to making research and writing publication? How does it sit with you?
It's a big one. What stands out most?
Yes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
In my experience, I kind of want to know what others that haven't seen what I've done, that haven't known me, haven't been with me all along. I want to see how they feel about my research, about what I do.
Okay.
Because of my PhD, my supervisory team, they always read through my manuscripts as well as my colleagues. So I like to see people from outside. What do they think about what I've done? Does it make sense? My writing, does it make sense? The novelty in my work, does it make sense? I think that's pretty much what stands out most for me. Feedback I get, how external people view my work. That's for me.
Okay, that's very, very correct. How external people view your work. So you're not just monopolizing it and trying to force your idea on everybody. You want feedback. You want people to listen to you. That's very good. That's a very good move there. So now the next question goes to Oluwatoyin. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. If you could tell us, what skills do you think that someone who is writing a research publication, someone who wants to publish a paper, what kind of skill do you think the person should have? What are the basics? What do you know are the basics?
Well, for someone who is doing a research, I think one important thing that, one important is it will I call it attitudes? No, I won't say attitude. Resource is basically the person should have an idea of where to find the information he needs to put his write-up together. So, and to make sure the source is authentic, not just picking up something off the internet, and then it should be original. So that's one of the skills, being able to source for information and the right information. So
very
that's
good.
one important aspect.
It's called,
others,
yeah, thank you very much. Credible information. If you must write publication, you need credible information. You need credible data. You need it to be authentic so that someone else can, verify it. Thank you very much for sharing that. So Temi, are you there? Hello? Oh, she's not there. Okay. I'll look for somebody else now. Chinezie. Is she there?
Yes,
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question goes to you. I need you to tell me, what challenges have you ever faced writing or researching? What are your challenges? What have you faced before? And how did you manage them?
Wow. I think that's a very good question. Do you mean like research in my coursework or what?
Yeah, any kind of research you've engaged in before?
Okay, I think one of the key things that I have encountered is, coming up with keywords, and trying to narrow down useful, because when you're doing a search, you tend to have, of course, a lot of options, and trying to narrow down which information is useful. So I think that has been my biggest challenge so far.
Right. Well, I want to say, I don't think you're the only one that have ever faced that. So today, we're still going to learn a lot. We're going to bring all these things together. So, but before we wrap up this session, I want Tilly to help us answer this question. What is the place of collaboration with your colleagues, with your supervisors, with other people from different, from external bodies? And how do you collaborate to bring your research work to a success? Are you there? Could you help us, please? Okay, I think my audience are quiet on me today. That's not fair. Is Temi back? Could she help us?
Hello?
Yeah, so I was looking for you before. Thank God you're here. So my question to you is, what is the place of collaborating when you're writing a research, like your supervisors, your colleagues, other external bodies? How far do you get them involved when you're trying to, get information, get your work done and all that? What's the place?
So I think basically when you're writing your research,
yeah,
depending on what area you're writing on and the specialties of these people collaborating with you, and depending on the work you're doing.
Yeah.
So you get them involved as much as they can be of help to you. That's just the truth. It depends on, are you the first author? Is it you really pushing this work? That's what you have to realize. And then others are just really supporting you. A joint work.
All right, thank you very much. So it's very important to get people involved at their levels, at various levels. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. So Tile is here. If you can help us to tell us, what do you think about when you want to choose a topic? Is it what you will learn or what you know, or both of them? No response. Okay, my point is, in that aspect, is when you're wanting to write a research paper or whatever you want to research, do you think it is important to think about what you already know, or is it just about what you would learn, or is it about what you know and what you learn? In my own opinion, I think there should be a balance. You don't want a topic that you're completely a novice, and you don't want something that you won't learn anything from. So you have to find the balance, something you have an idea of and something you would learn. So you're contributing and then you're building yourself as well. But very quickly, we're going into our conversation for today, our topic for today. And I'm very excited to invite somebody in our midst. We all know her. And she is going to answer so many questions that we have today. And if you are here and you like to write, join me as I welcome Opeyemi Taiwo. She's been a lecturer before now. She's a researcher currently at the University of Aberdeen, and she has experience writing before. So she's going to talk to us from a point of, from a part of someone who has done this before, not theory. She's giving us experience-based information. And she's also, she's a reviewer for a very, very prominent journal back in her field. So welcome to the floor, Opeyemi, as she teaches us all that we need to know, gives us all the information we need today. Thank you very much. So the floor is all yours.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I am Opeyemi Taiwo, and I hear myself echoing back to myself. I think it's fine now. Okay, so I am Opeyemi Taiwo, and I'll be taking you through how to write research publications. This will be my presentation outline. We'll be looking at what research publications are, why is it useful, that's why we're treating this topic, publication types, steps involved in writing, the best places to publish, and handling rejection. So we started with what are publications. WALA 2013 defines scholarly publications as any periodic published material that contains the results of researchers who have gained new knowledge. So the end product of the research is publication. Now, if you have done a research, whether to address a specific problem or to refine an existing solution, you should publish it. Publications can be short, they can be long, depending on their outlet, but the common denominator is they announce new knowledge or they enhance new knowledge. They are beyond the essays and coursework you do because these ones are published. They are global for the world's eye. Now, why do we treat this topic? Why are we looking at this? Because from our definition of what publications are, we see that publications disseminate research, they disseminate the results from research. So they are the common means of disseminating results of research. And the results of this research usually drive innovation. So when we announce new knowledge, a new knowledge gained, it actually can drive innovation. So that's one reason why people publish. And another reason why people publish is because it's a part of their degree. So especially for those doing their PhDs, you hear things like, oh, you have to publish and you have to be the first author or the lead author in at least 1 or 2 papers for you to have your PhD. So it comes as a part of a degree. It also makes you have a sense of expertise of your field. It defines your intellectual capacity. So when you want to evaluate the scholarliness of researchers, you do that with, oh, how many papers does he have? How many, where has he published? What is this specific index? So it gives you a sense of expertise in your field and defines your intellectual capacity. It also serves as a criteria for promotion. So for someone like me in the academics and some other agencies, they base their promotion on publication. So for such kind of agencies, your promotion is a criteria for your promotion, your publication. Then it also gives a sense of satisfaction and relevance in your field. So if you've been publishing, your work is cited, people are getting to know you, it gives you a sense of satisfaction. I'm doing well in this field. I'm advancing in this field. And then another reason why people publish is to increase knowledge. Now, when I don't know something, I Google it up and then I get results, right? Someone did that work and put it there. And so to increase this knowledge bank, when you have your research and you publish it, it also increases the knowledge bank. So it increases knowledge. Then it's also a requirement for scholarship. Now we dwelt on this last month when we're talking about scholarship. We see that when you have publications, it gives you an advantage. It scores you more points. So People publish because they want to, be at a better standing. And then people publish, and the course of publication develops your writing and communication skill. You get better at writing and you become a better intellectual communicator. Now, we keep saying publications, publications, publications. There are a large spectrum of publications, and we're going to be looking at some types. So we're starting with the books. So it can be a book, it can be a monograph or a book chapter. Now, what this kind of publication does is it gives background information to a topic. They take long to get written and get published, so they are not the best sources for current information on current issues. However, they give you the background information to a particular topic, and they can be used as source of authoritative information. So you can actually cite them. Another type of publications are the conference proceedings. Now, these conference proceedings are the kind of publication where there's a collection of research paper or research results, the full one in the case of conference proceedings, that are presented in an official gathering, usually in conferences, just like the name implies. Another kind of publication related to this is the book of abstracts. For that one, it's just the abstract that is taken out. But for the book of conference proceedings, all the full research paper, they are all connected together for different authors and put together and bounded together. Now, the most updated kind of publications are the magazines and newspapers. And usually these ones come from reporters. And though they are the most updated, you can see, maybe one just came out today. It comes from reporters who might tend to write it in such a way, skew the publication or the tone in such a way that it fulfills their bias. So it can be political. They want to use, maybe your field addresses an economic issue, and then they just want to tie it to something, so they skew it to the point that it might almost lose its meaning and is not retaining the integrity of what the original researcher intended to communicate out. So it's not reliable, even though it's quite updated and it's a form of publication. Now, other kinds of publications out there are reports. We see reports. Sometimes a group carry out a report or a research, and then they just give a report. Usually it's common in universities. Then we see licentiate thesis, we see doctoral thesis and dissertation. Now, a special kind of publication, and the one we're going to be dwelling on today, are the peer-reviewed journals. Now, a peer-reviewed journal is a periodic publication with articles. It contains articles that is particular to an academic discipline. So it's articles relating to an academic discipline is what is published in these peer-reviewed journals. What is peer review? Peer review is the concept where researchers in your field anonymously or openly review your work. Now it can be blind review, it can be single blind, it can be double blind, it's anonymous, you don't know who is reviewing the work, and it can be open. The reviewer knows who is writing. Peer review is very important because it is the research community's way of controlling the correctness and the quality of researches sent out. Now, you can imagine what will happen if people are not there to be checks and balances, to put checks and balances to the kind of publications that are sent out. People will just write anything and send them out. So the peer review is a way of ensuring that every research that is sent out is correct and is of quality. Now, this peer review process is what gives journals the highest scientific or scholarly relevance over every other research type. And that is why we're going to be dwelling on peer-reviewed journals this afternoon. So journals they have limited audience because, as I said earlier, it's relating to a particular academic discipline. So it's only people within that field and probably doing things related to even that topic within that larger field that might end up reading your work. And then they are concise, they're not as broad and generic as books that give you just that background. They are specific, they talk about a particular thing, and they are more up to date than books. Now, this is book versus peer-reviewed journals. So we see for the book, why the peer-reviewed journals are rated higher than the books is because for the book, it's just the editor. It's just the editor or the publisher, and the evaluation or the quality of that book would depend on the reputability of that publisher. While for academic journals, you see the author sending it to the editor, the second eye sent it to 2 or 3 reviewers, other experts in that field who independently look at it, send their review back to the editor, which gets to the author, and then he begins to revise and revise and revise, depending on how much revision is required. And then it can be the primary loop, secondary loop, tertiary loop, depending on how much revision is required. Now, having stated that the journal article has the highest scholarly quality, or it has a higher scientific rating, what are the types of journal articles? Now we want to be interested in, okay, this one that gives me so much value, let me know so much about it. And so there are different types of journal articles. We have one, the original research. The original research is what is common. That is what most people do. You do a particular research and then you publish on it. That's the original research. Then the short reports. These ones are the kind of reports or kind of journals that are written. They are quite short. They are called, or they're also called brief communication. They are extracted out of the original research, but they are actually published very quickly because they can stimulate further research, or they are very time sensitive. Now, take for instance COVID-19. You see a lot of publications on COVID-19 because when, let's take for instance, someone is taking a research and they're going to research, okay, I want to know what is this COVID virus, this SARS-CoV-2 virus is about. And then it just, in the course of the research, he realizes that, oh, the structure is like this, and it's different from what everybody has been saying, and they've been trying to battle it, and this is new. He quickly sends it out, so he doesn't have to wait till all the reports and all the other part is complete. You quickly send it out. So those kind of short reports or letters are called short reports. Those kind of publications, those kind of journals are called short reports or brief communication. Then we also have the review articles. These review articles are the kind of publications that summarizes all the research that has been done on a particular topic. It's just like literature review. Everything that has been done on this particular discipline or on this thing, you bring all the researches that has been done on it and bring it together. Those kind of journals are called the review articles, and they are usually widely cited. They are widely read and cited because most people that want to do anything, for every research you want to do, you have to carry out literature search. So once you have a literature review journal, is going to be cited on a particular topic. Then another kind of journal, another type of journal is the case study, and this one deals with publication on specific phenomenon. So take for instance COVID-19. So you want to zoom in on only SARS-CoV-2 out of all the viruses, that's a case study. Or you want to look at a particular environment just because of the specific things that are happening in that place, that is a case study kind of journal. Then we have the methodology. This kind of articles present new experimental method and they test it, stating the procedures and new method generally. The next thing we're going to be looking at is steps involved in writing research paper, especially journal, peer-reviewed journals. So we're going to look at a series of steps, and the first one is choosing a topic, planning, conducting research, organizing the research and ideas, drafting your manuscript, and revising your manuscript. So in choosing the topic, I see a lot of people get stuck here. They feel, oh, when I want to write a paper, the first thing is, oh, the topic, what will be the topic? I don't know the topic to write on. But getting the topic is not the first thing. The first thing is ensuring you have found a gap, getting a research problem. That is the first thing. So when you hear a lot of people saying, I'm looking for research problem, this is where it begins. So when you have a statement of problem or you have a good research question, it will bet the topic. So what are the steps to getting a research problem or getting a research gap? One, extract it from your existing or past research. So for example, your PhD students or your MSc students or undergraduate students, and you have a topic which has an obvious gap you want to fill, because you don't want to write things that are of no significance, and the significance is tied to the impact it's going to make. Well, what gap are you filling? What is missing that you're trying to fill in? So from my PhD, now I have a gap that I'm trying to fill, and then I can just take that gap, and from that gap, I can pick out keywords and get a topic. Or I've done a research in time past which fill the gap. From there, I can get a topic. Another way to get research gap is by repeating a procedure or methodology in a different study area. Now, this is very common. Say something has been done in Australia, and then we're encountering a similar problem. And this person has used this method in Australia, and now I want to replicate it here in the UK. I can just repeating the procedure. And in this kind of case, we get the methodology the method kind of journal or the case study kind of journals. Then we have the identifying missing gaps from past literature. So now if you're reading a paper, that's another way you can identify gaps. You're reading a literature and then you just notice that this person did not consider this thing. You identify an obvious gap. You can decide to pick it as a research gap. Then recommendations from past researches. We see a lot of papers that tell you, I recommend that this and this and this and that. That can be a research gap. Then attending conferences, meetup, and collaboration. So when you attend conferences, people present. From their presentation, from the questions, from the technical session, you can pick research gaps. Then from brainstorming, this is very common. A group of people sit down and say, okay, let's brainstorm. They bring up ideas, and before you know what's happening, there's a gap. The gap is created and they want to fill it. And you also have from critical thinking. Critical thinking, we've looked at it in this seminar some months back. And these are times where you sit down yourself and evaluate what is missing in this field. What do I like? Okay, in all the courseworks I've been doing, what do I like? Which one do I enjoy doing? What part of this field do I want to further in? What is missing in this kind of field? By the time you ask yourself so many questions like that, you will come up with a particular field, narrow it down to what is missing in that field, and it can bet research gaps for you. Now, when you found a research gap, you now write out that research question or that statement of problem and try to generate smaller research questions. You try to generate smaller research questions and you make sure that all the research questions answer that identified gap. So they are all addressing that identified gap. And then from there, you can get keywords to coin out your topic. So if I've said, oh, this particular place, oh, they are lacking geophysics, this one is lacking geochemistry, this one is lacking biological studies, I'm already getting keywords. I've gotten geophysical, geochemical, and biologic. So from that, you get the keywords that you're going to use to coin out your topic. Now, the next stage is the planning stage. You plan to have quality. Nobody stumbles over success. Success, you don't just have a very good journal. You have very, very good, you have very much high H index by mistake. You actually plan for these things. And when you plan to have quality publication, you plan to have quality research. So the quality of your publication depends on the quality of your research. So you plan to have quality research. Don't just say, I just want to be having paper, and then it's not even filling any gap. It's of no significance. So we have to plan to have what? Quality paper. And then how do you do this? You want to appraise the study. This is the point where you sit down and appraise the study. You say, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, is it realistic? This is a time to agree on hypotheses with your supervisors or with other co-authors. This is a time to look at the data analysis method you want to employ. Is it achievable? Is it realistic? The instrumentation, are they available? Do I have it? You want to assess it, appraise your study. Then at this point, you also want to identify a journal early. So you want to, the journal you want to publish, you want to identify it right now because it will help you familiarize yourself with the guidelines from that journal. And then you're able to write according to the guideline. So from that journal, you already have it. You want to download some kind of paper. So papers that have been published in that particular journal. So you can familiarize yourself with, this is the guideline they follow. This is the topic. These are the headings. And then you outline these headings out of that guideline. Another thing familiarizing yourself helps you to do is it helps you know the scope of the journal. Now, most papers that are rejected on desk rejection are caused by out of scope. Now, you just see a journal, you send your paper, you don't know whether it's within your scope or it's outside the scope of that discipline or of that work you're trying to do. So that is what causes most of the rejection. So at this point, you want to familiarize yourself with the scope of the journal you are trying to target. Then after outlining the headings from that journal, you now begin to put the right content under the right heading. Now, sometimes when we review, we see things that are supposed to be in discussion are put in result. So you take everything and say, okay, move this to results or move all this to methodology and all that. So you can avoid that by putting the right heading, and then it helps you put the right content under the right heading. This is a time also to plan for your research, plan for when to write, and time to break down all the big tasks into smaller chunks. Now, the next stage is conducting research. And I have written that writing begins with what has been written. Earlier research is always the point of departure for any research. Now, you can't just, and that is why it is called the research. It has been searched out before, so you want to research it. So you cannot do without earlier research. And there are typically two reasons why people publish generally. Number one, it is the next logical stage or the next logical step to take. So a lot of things have been happening, or this person has done this work, and the next logical step to take is this particular, and that is why people actually can publish. Another reason is something has been missing or something is deficient from the previous work that has been done. And then that is like identifying a missing gap. Now, the best way or the best category that suits you or where your research falls into or where your publication will fall into can only be known when you search the literature. So it's either it's the next step and it's from the literature. I recommend that further studies be done in line of this and this and that, and then you'll know that from that literature. Or I have noticed that this person did not talk about water budget when he was talking about this thing, and then you also address that. Then the next stage is to begin. The next thing is to begin with a thorough literature search. And now you can use Google Scholar, Web of Science, Mendeleev. You use it to search for papers that are related to what you do. Now, all the articles you want to search after, the ones that have direct relevance to your topic. And that is where you use the keywords. Now, the keywords, when you read a paper, you see keywords. Those keywords are not just there. They are there for you to use to search your paper. And also, when you are trying to get a topic, you've also coined out keywords for yourself. So those kind of keywords are what you use to search for paper, and it brings out related earlier researches that are related to what you want to do. Then you have to be pragmatic. There are many times where we actually download papers and we finish reading them when you know that this is not what I needed. It's not related to what I actually need. So you have to be pragmatic. It's part of the process. So if it has happened to you, no worries. It's part of the training. But a better way to approach this is read the abstract. When you read the abstract and it looks like, oh, this is looking like what I want to do, you go to the conclusion. If it's the person says, I wanted to do this and do this and do that, and the conclusion is looking like, yes, the research actually answered it, then you can download it and read through. Then most literature searched should be recent. It should be current information. Now, organizing this research. As simple as it sounds, is a very important stage. Now we've downloaded a lot of papers, we've read a lot of articles in the research stage. Now we want to organize it. All the articles that are relevant, that you also know this person is actually saying exactly what I want to do, you note those ones. Then you categorize them based on your theories, based on your methodology or result comparison, because that is where your argument is going to come from most times. So from the methodology, oh, I don't agree with what this person has done, or I agree with what this person has done, I want to replicate it. So it's usually from the methodology and your discussion and your results. So that is how it starts. So you now tie specific authors or specific articles to these relevant headings. Now this helps you a lot, because when you get like 3 talking about methodology, maybe you want to compare this one and this one, you want to try it on another one. So you pick the 2 papers on methodology that have already stated their own, you put it under methodology. So you know that when you are writing your methodology, these are the people you keep citing, these are the articles you keep citing. It actually helps make your work very easy and tidy. Same thing for the results. Now it's either you're agreeing with the person or you're contradicting the person, you're arguing out that point. So you also put those authors in your results. It makes it very easy for you when you want to cite them. And the next stage is drafting your manuscript. Now, this is where the most of the talk is going to be on, drafting the manuscript. Now, in most publications, we have 9 sections: the title, the abstract, the introduction, the methods, the results, discussion, conclusion, acknowledgement, and references, and they are in this order. Now, though they are in this order in every paper, it doesn't mean that is the order you will write them. It doesn't mean that is the title that is the first thing you will write and followed by the abstract. Usually the abstract is the last thing you write. Now, some journals have a separate section for literature review, but most of them embed the literature review in the introduction. Now, very quickly, I'll talk on authorship. Now, after the title, the next thing that should follow are the authors. And the authors are those who actually did the research, who actually carried out that research. So the first author is usually the person that makes the most significant intellectual contribution. I've heard of stories where people think for to be the best of first author is a show of respect. So if I have a prof in the team, it's the prof that will be the first author. That's not how it works. And that is why for PhDs, we have to, there's this condition that you should be the first author, the lead author, because it shows that you've taken responsibility, you've done the most work, you've contributed the most to this paper. Then after the first author, any other person that works better, that works well, works most, will be the second author, and that's how it continues till the last person that works. And in some reputable journals, they will ask you, what did each author do? What did each contribute? So you want to keep a tab on what everybody has contributed. You also want to talk about it so there is no conflict of interest. There's no conflict of interest. And that's why when you want to publish, you hear things like sign if there is any conflict among authors. So you want to be sure that, because somebody might say, I think I'm supposed to be the first author, and then I'm not the first author. So you want to sort that out. Then the corresponding author. The corresponding author is doesn't necessarily have to be the first author. It is someone that handles all the correspondences, that does all the administrative work. And it's better to use people that are very experienced in corresponding journals. So you want to use usually the oldest person in the team. That is, in some journals, they use the group leader, the older person, because the person is more stable, the person is more experienced, and then is more stable in the sense that, for me now as a PhD student, my official email address, which most reputable journals use, they don't use Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Hotmail, they don't use all that. They use official emails. So if I'm using at Aberdeen email now, I know that in some years my email is going to expire, but these ones, they've been there, and it's kind of constant for them. So those kind of people that have a stable address are better to be used as corresponding author. So anybody can actually be the corresponding author. Now, the first thing we're going to be looking at from this framework, we've looked at the framework, we're going to be looking at the contents of each of these framework, one after the other. What should be where? For the title, we've talked about the topic, how to get the topic. Now, from that topic, we've said, okay, have a research problem. We have the research problem now. From that research problem, break it down into 2 to 4 overall ideas. And from those overall ideas, you will get keywords that will help you coin out a word. If you can get the research problem, if you can get a gap, coining out a topic for it will not be so difficult, because in the end, the bottom line is trying to get a topic that can align and cover all those aspects. That'll just be a matter of turning it into a sentence or a phrase. Then use the ideas found in journals to coin out similar titles. Now, if somebody has done something similar, and maybe I just want to replicate a methodology in a case in another study area, then that keeps it easier. And then, as I said earlier, keep a keyword list, because when you also write your abstract, beneath it, you're going to write keywords. And that is what is going to point the way for others to also Google up your paper. The next thing is the abstract. Now, the abstract is that aspect that summarizes all the major parts of your work, and what it covers is the overall purpose of the study. So in your abstract, you should make sure you state the overall purpose of your study, the basic design or methodology you're employing, the results, a summary of your interpretation and findings, and then it should be written in past tense. Usually, the journal you are going to publish in, they will give you the guideline. That's why you want to familiarize yourself with a target journal. You want to know the guideline, you want to know how many words they allow here, how many words they allow here. But most journals, it is 200 words. Now, how do you know my abstract is good enough? You will just assume you are another researcher or a reader, and you pick up your abstract, you read it. Does it show you does it give you all the details? Does it give you an overview of what the work is about? If yes, then your abstract is good. If no, you should sit down and revise it. At the next stage, after the abstract, the next thing is the introduction. Now, the introduction gives the general background to the topic. And this triangular shape is the is the format, that is the approach you give to introduction. So it's usually very broad from the base. So you're talking from the general field of study. So right now I want to talk on palynology, but I'll first start with geology and then the stratigraphy and sedimentology. So I'll just keep talking and keep narrowing it down till I get to palynology, and then narrow it down to exactly what I want to do. So that is how introduction goes. It goes from the broadest and you narrow it down to your topic. So here you define the problem. So here you state the problem and you state it from literature, obviously from the gap, and then you provide goals, what you want to achieve, what the identified gap, what you are trying to achieve, the solution you're trying to bring. At this point, you list all your research questions, all the questions you've got, all those many questions you got from the main big statement of problem. You want to write them down. Questions should be answerable, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. You're going to state that. At this point, you also want to state your hypothesis. You want to indicate why that study is significant, and that is what just filling that gap that you have identified. And then it is mostly written in the present tense, except you want to refer to a theory or something that is obsolete and you do not agree with. That is when you use the past tense. Then the next part is the literature review. I've said it that most of the journals embed this literature review as part of the introduction. Now, in this section, it includes all the in-depth evaluation of previous researchers. Other researchers have done a lot of work, so you want to embed, you want to show, you want to demonstrate that I have read it. After all, it's from the literature search that you even got the gap in the first place. So you want to be sure that you want to demonstrate that. They also want to identify and discuss other concepts related to the issue. Now, I have used the example of geophysical, geochemical, biology. You're not just going to say, I will only dwell on geophysical. You're going to give a balanced concept on each of them, literature review on each of them. Then it should not just be descriptive. You not just say, G-Light 2021 said, Deeper Life Aberdeen 2022 said, that it's not like that. So you have to be critical. You have to demonstrate that you have read it, you understand what it is saying and how it fits together to your work. And you have to always apply literature to your work. So you're not just reading it or stating them. You are stating how it impacts your work, or what your work is benefiting from, how it relates to your work. Now, the sources of information must be credible. We have said it already in the icebreaker time that it has to be credible. So you want to stay away from predatory journals. It has to be from highly revered and high impact journals. The review is also something continuous. So you keep reviewing, whether for your thesis or for publication, you keep reviewing till almost the time you're going to publish. Now, the method. This in the methods, you want to state the specific methodology you have employed in this place, and you state it such that it is reproducible. Now, reproducibility is one thing that is noised seriously now in the research world. You must state it such that if you say go forward, go 10 meters, turn left, I go for 10 meters and turn left, I will see what you are saying we should see. So you want to state the methodology step by step, how you have done it in a way that it can be reproduced. In your methodology, you also describe the research design. What was the plan for your data collection? What kind of analysis? What statistical tests did you employ? What data validation or instrument validation did you employ? Then what are the procedures and the techniques that you adopted? Some people even adopt standardized procedures. You want to state it. The standardized procedures that you employ is under the methods you're going to state it. Then the materials, all the materials you use. I use ditch cuttings, I use core logs, I got them from this place. So you say it, the rationale, the sources where you got them from, the rationale. Why are you using that particular material for that particular kind of work? And then appropriate citation. Did it come from this person's, from the work, from the gap? This is what the person used, and that is why I'm also using it. So that rationale, that citation should be included or should be written in your methods. And it is written in the past tense and in passive voice. You only use the present tense to refer to tables or figures. Now, here, let me mention very quickly, you need to keep your source file. Now, your source file are those files that you used to produce some data figures or diagrams in your work, because many reputable journals ask for it. They'll tell you to give them your source file either at the beginning or as the review progresses. These source files can be Excel files, MATLAB files, your R files. Just keep a tab on them, and because they can ask. And the next stage is the results. Now, in these results, in the introductory paragraph, you want to restate the processes and the procedures you carried out. Then you state all your findings, whether it's quantitative findings, qualitative findings, what are the results of the statistical analysis. Now, this is just results. In some other journals, it can be results and discussion according to the guideline of that journal. So if it's just the results, it's not time to talk. It's just time to state everything that you have found out. And then you write your results in the same order of your materials and methods. Now, if in your materials and methods that you have talked first about geophysical studies, geochemical studies second, biological studies third. In your results too, you present your geophysical study first, your geochemical second, and your biologic third. Now, it is written in past tense, and you also illustrate to tables and figures in present tense. Now, one thing to note here is all results are results. Do not alter your results. You don't just say, I don't like the way this result is not explaining what I like. You're not biased. A researcher is open-minded because any result can lead the way to further work. So do not alter your results. When the negative results sometimes can be a research gap for someone else, and it is about scientific fraud to take away anything out of your results. Now, discussion. Format of discussion is the opposite of introduction. So for the discussion, now from my result is specific. And then I begin to talk about the results and begin to apply it to the general field of knowledge. That's how discussion goes. So for discussion, the first thing is you briefly summarize all your findings. So all the findings, or everything you've said in the results. So I found out that the color changed from pink to green. Now, what is the interpretation of that? Now that you found out that, what does it mean? So when it changed from pink when it changed from green to pink, that means it is fit for drinking. So something like that. You begin to interpret your result. Then you compare and contrast that findings to other studies, and that is what broadens it up. So this is positioning your results to the global. Globally, it's positioning the results globally. So you're comparing it to other findings and then establish how they exist and fit into the entire body of knowledge. And the next thing is what explain the meaning, the implication, and the value of your findings. This is what gives significance to your work. And then the next thing is what identify any limitation. I was not able to do this because of this. I was not able to take these readings because it was the rainy season. Another person might say, okay, if this is the result for rainy season, or for dry season, and it's not saying in rainy season, I can actually, a gap can be doing this in rainy season. So state out all your limitations. And the second major thing is what, after discussing all your major findings, give recommendation. You can say, okay, so I suggest that this work should be done in rainy season. Discussion is written in the present tense. Now, conclusion. Conclusion is, okay, I wanted to do this particular thing. In this conclusion, how has your study addressed that problem? In the introduction, you said, I'm set out the study of this goal, the aim of this goal is to do this and this and that. So how has your research, how has it answered that problem, what you are set out to do? That is what you say here in the conclusion. So it's a summary of where your proposed research has ended. So in the summary, you restate the significance of your work, restate it, because that is what just shows that this is of value, what I've done is important, and where it fits globally. Then either in the discussion or in the recommendation, in the conclusion, as I've said, state a recommendation. It is written in a mixture of tenses, so just follow the flow for your conclusion. Now, acknowledgement. Acknowledgement, in this section, we've talked about citing. So when you keep writing, you don't just write. You don't just write and not quote people, especially in the literature stuff. So when you say this person stated this, you cite the person. You recognize the input of those people. Now, acknowledgement is another way of acknowledging, of citing people and appreciating people that have contributed to your work, though they are not co-authors. So in this section, you need to thank all the individuals, all the institutes. Maybe somebody gave you data, you thank them, all those that have contributed significantly to your work. It's not the time to say, well, I want to thank my children and my sons and daughters. No, it's those that have contributed to your work but cannot be listed as co-authors for any reason. Now, the next thing is references. We've talked about citation. Referencing is a way of acknowledging people, previous workers that have done so much, that have contributed to your work too. So referencing, citing people is very important. And then the reference list is the list that brings out the general list of all those that you have cited in your work. And you can do this either by stating the volume number. And there are different types of referencing styles, just as there are different types of citation styles, and we are going to get to that. So you want to carefully make sure you cite people, and then you make sure that all those that you have cited are showing in your reference list. And that's the difference between your reference list and your bibliography. For your bibliography, you don't have to cite the person, but if you've read the work and you used the work or you used the paper, even though you did not tie it to it didn't tie directly to what you were doing, you can put it on your bibliography list. And this is a caution to referencing. You only cite work that is directly related to what you have done. And what referencing does is that it shows that you understand your work, and then it gives your work credibility, and it gives your work authority. It demonstrates your intellectual attitude. It shows that you have read. So when people see your reference list, they say, oh no, this person did a lot in this work. Now, what are the tips to referencing? Now, because we've said you should be citing people and then you should have a good reference, this doesn't mean you should now everybody you see, you just be putting it in the reference list. You should not be extreme. So don't be too little, because when you don't reference enough, when you just do little, it shows laziness. It questions your diligence to the work. They wonder if you've really if you're really diligent with this work, and it actually casts doubts to the entire project whether you're even diligent at all with the work. And then when you have too many references, they wonder if you actually even showed any intellectual understanding at all. It just looks like you just went and copied people's references and put it. So the validity of your work is questioned. So you don't want to be extreme, and then only apply literature to your work. So when you have read a work, if it doesn't have a direct tie to your work, you can't let it flow. You can't build it as a story. You can't relate it to your work and where you're going to. Don't cite it. A list of references is usually at the end, and it's the number, and is limited to the number of the references that you have cited. And when it comes to the number of references, there is no particular fixed number. It depends on what you are writing on. So for literature review kind of journals, because a lot of work has been done, a lot of research is review. We are reviewing a lot of people's work. So you might tend to have more references, and same thing too for methodology. And also, it also depends on the guideline of the journal. And then sometimes it also depends on the field of study. It depends on how much work has been done in that field. So if a lot of research has been done on that field, you will have a lot of paper to actually refer to and then reference. Now, plagiarism. Now, we can't talk about citation and referencing without talking about plagiarism. And according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, to plagiarize means to steal and pass off someone else's ideas as your own, or to use without crediting the source, or to commit literary theft, or to present as new an idea that is not your own. So in other words, plagiarism is an act of fraud. So plagiarism can be plagiarizing songs, plagiarizing music, pictures, anything. It's beyond copying people's work and not citing them or crediting it to them. In fact, plagiarism can be when you copy someone too much, when you copy someone to every word for word, you keep copying, and the majority of your work is just someone else's work. You keep copying and copying and say, oh, no, this paper is so relevant to me. It's so relevant to my work. No, it's not like that. If you keep copying, and you keep citing the person, it is still plagiarism. So we have to be very careful how we write. Particularly, we have to be careful of self-plagiarism. When submitting your article, one article that you are submitting new, so you want to refer back to what you've done before. If you want to cite yourself, don't say, it's my work, everything is my work. You have to reference yourself. So you cite yourself and then you reference yourself. So don't avoid self-plagiarism. So how do we avoid plagiarism? One, properly quote and paraphrase. I recently attended a seminar on quoting of summary and paraphrasing, and it was interesting how seemingly easy it looked. Yeah, I know sometimes if you take out some keywords, it might change the meaning, but as much as possible, try to paraphrase. You don't have to cover the whole idea that the person is trying to put out, but just pick out the major things and try to tie it to literature. Try to tie it to what you are trying to do and cite the sources properly. So properly cite the sources. That's the next thing. Then the third thing is check your work for possible plagiarism. Subjected to plagiarism test, and here these are a list of some plagiarism checkers. Turnitin, which is the most popular, we see Epheros. Strific in 2020 did a detailed work on different kinds of plagiarism checkers, and the ones I have colored green are the good ones, they are the recommended ones, and the other ones that are red are the ones that are not recommended. So you want to pick one of these tools and subject your work to plagiarism. The next thing we're going to be looking at is what citation. We've talked about citation. So how do we cite? Now, citation is discipline specific. And we have lots of citation styles. We have APA, we have MLA, we have Chicago, we have Harvard, Vancouver, Oscola. I have included this link here, and this link takes you to the different kinds of citation styles with their discipline and how to write them. So just for example, I just gave an example of 3. For Oscola, it's more of law, IEEE, engineering, Vancouver, NLM, medicine, APSA, political science. So it's actually tied to different disciplines. So you want to know your own, that of your own discipline, and most importantly, according to the guideline of the journal. So for the APA, we see GLITE and DLCF here, they wrote a paper, and according to them in 2021, that is it. So this is how you write for the APA within a text, or at the beginning of the text and at the end, and this is how it is referenced. So we can see for the reference of the APA, it is just the surname and the initials, which differs from that of the MLA, which is the surname and the full name. Now, another difference between the APA and the MLA is that for the APA, it uses the year of publication, but for the MLA, it uses the page number. So we see something like the second line under MLA. We are a band of excellent and God-fearing students, GLITE and DLCF from page 21 to page 52. So it uses the name and the page number, and many other ones. We even have numeric, different types of citation styles. The last one is, for the example here, is Chicago, where they use the number. So you use the number and then you use the footnotes, the subscript number and the footnotes. So it's in this situation, it doesn't have to be alphabetical, because in a situation where I'm using the numeric now, it's just according to the numbers, whichever comes first, and then it's in that order of number. I go to sites. I write out my reference list. Now the last stage is what? Revising your work. Revising and editing your work. And I've said AKA review your work for your reviewers. Now, because I'm going to write a manuscript and I'm going to send it to the reviewers, doesn't mean I should just send a whole bunch of rubbish to them and say, they are the reviewers, they should do it. The work will just lose credibility. So you want to do as much as you can. So editing looks at the mechanical accuracy, your flow. You want to avoid grammar. You want to avoid error in spell check. And one important one is the misuse of American English spelling and British English spelling. So if you are using organization with Z, analyzing with Z, all of that, keep using the Z, keep using the Z. Don't use Z now and use S later. Stick to one. If not, it will just say, did this person even do this work at all? And before you know, it's beginning to put a bias on the quality of your work. That is for editing. So it looks at the mechanical accuracy. But for the revising looks at what the whole structure, the flow, the organization of your work. And this is actually very, very important. And how you want to check, what did I write? What I wanted to say, did I say it? You know, sometimes you just write a whole lot of things, and what you really want to communicate, you've not communicated it. You're just beating around the bush. You've not hit the nail on the head. So you want to check what I wanted to say. Did I really say it? Is my writing focused? Is it clear? Do people understand it? Are my ideas, are they supported by research? Am I just making statements, ambiguous statements, or am I citing? Am I giving it the right authority? Do my paragraphs flow? That's how, these are the things you want to check in revising. And how do you do that? The tips is what? Imagine you are someone else. You are reading your work and you are someone else and you are reading it. Because if you don't do that, when there's this subjectivity when we deal with our works. We just read our work, and even when there is no is in something, even if you read it 100 times, you keep seeing is in that at that point. So maybe sometimes you just want to print it out and read it, assuming you're someone else. Or you also use a checklist. For a checklist, okay, I wanted to state this. And this comes in the place of planning. So you've planned that, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. Use your checklist to say, okay, this is what I wanted to say. Did I say it? Does it come out well? Is this good? And then the last way to help you revise is to give it to someone else. So this is where other authors come in, so co-authors, because there's just this subjectivity and people read objectively. When you give your work to someone else, they will see the errors very quickly. So you want to involve other people, you want to collaborate with other people, whether the authors or your friends, your colleagues that are in similar field with you, and then get your feedback and improve your work based on that. Now, the next thing is handling rejection and correction. I've seen a lot of times where the paper is rejected, you just send it and it's rejected, or it comes with a lot of correction, with very serious review comments that can be very discouraging. So how do we handle this? We must always remember that manuscripts rarely get accepted without changes. So most manuscripts have to be changed. So it has to be revised. I know it might come back with a lot of work. It might question this and so many things that you begin to wonder, is it that I don't know what I'm doing? But we must know that this feedback will help us to improve our work. So what you want to do is when the correction comes, you want to review the reviewer's feedback on your submission. What exactly are they asking you to do? Are they asking you to take away things? Are they asking you to bring in things? So list out the list of the revision and work on it and resubmit your article and include the report stating exactly what you have done based on the reviewer's feedback. Then if the article was rejected, it's still useful to analyze the feedback, work on it and submit it somewhere else. There is no way it wouldn't have bettered the work, it would have improved the work. So what are other tips to handling rejection? Have a mindset that the comment and the feedback is meant to improve your work. Sometimes feedback can be so harsh, but just know that in the end is to improve your work, learn from it. Then another thing with rejection is many times when the impact factor of a journal is very high, the higher the impact factor, the higher the rate of rejection to such journals. So for such journals, you may be submitted to one with very high impact factor. Take the review, work on it, and submit it to one with a lower impact factor, but still relevant in your field. So the major thing is get a journal in your field that is within your scope, because many rejections too comes from sending journals sending manuscripts to journals that are outside your scope. Then be persistent, be thin-skinned, be resilient. Now we've learned this from our emotional intelligence earlier this year. So we have to be emotionally intelligent. We have to take care of ourselves mentally. Encourage yourself. Know that you want to do something, that what you want to do, it's a gap. You want to fill it and it's going to make impact. So just encourage yourself. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is where do we publish? So we're talking about where do we publish, good journal, relevant journal. The first thing is get a journal relevant to your field. That is primary. Get a journal relevant to your field, because that is where it's people in your field that we keep seeing it, keep citing it, and give you the relevance that you need. So use keywords or recommendations. So you either use your keywords from your keyword for your topic to search out the journals, possible journals on paleoclimatology, because I'm doing something on paleoclimate, so something like that, and or based on recommendations of your colleagues in that field. So your colleagues have been publishing. Where do they publish? People in your field. You can, based on recommendation, you can get a journal. Then you want to know whether you want to publish on via open access or paid subscription. For the open access, it is free to the readers, but the author pays for it to be published, but it's open to everybody. And then we actually encourage younger researchers, the new researchers, to publish in this kind of journal so that it can reach out to people very well. Because when you are trying to gain relevance and then you are still telling people to pay for it, how many people want to read the work? So but it's your choice. And then the next thing is whether or paid subscription. So for the paid subscription, it is free for the author. The author publishes it free, but the reader has to pay to get it. And it can be hybrid in a situation whereby there is a blend of both. So University of Aberdeen and other universities are in partnership with some publishers. So you want to explore as a PGR student what publishers or what journals they have that link with. Then you want to check the impact factor. Now you can check that on Alimetric or JCR. The impact factor of a journal is the yearly average number of citations of articles within that journal. So it's a journal thing, and it gives them that relevance and that intrinsic prestige. So the higher the impact factor, the higher prestige of that journal. So this link will take you to a list of high impact journals of different fields. And then another thing you want to check is the quality. You want to avoid predatory journals. Now, these predatory journals, they have seen publishing as a business. They don't care about the quality. You can submit a paper in the morning and they will accept it in the evening. That's how bad predatory journals are. And it takes away what we want to achieve, what the peer review want to achieve, because apparently they are not sending this out for review. So it's not ensuring that your work aligns to quality. Though it might seem as though you're having a lot of papers churned out, but it is not quality paper. So you want to be sure that you subject your work through that fire so it can come out as good. And this is a list to predatory journals. So you have journals you want to publish in, you might want to run it through this predatory journal list to ensure you are publishing in the right journal. Now, what are the final words? I'm concluding with, I know when we say publishing research papers, it might look ambiguous, might look like very difficult, intimidating. However, it opens great opportunities because it gives you the opportunity to explore a topic you like. So you're in that field, obviously, or probably you like that field, so you have the opportunity to explore it. It also gives you the opportunity to gain expertise in your field. It gives you the opportunity to have relevance, demonstrate your intellectual capacity in that field. It also helps you to understand and learn better. You know, the moderator was talking about, okay, when you're picking a topic, is it to learn? So it helps you to learn better. When you are doing certain things, you might feel, oh, I need this skill to do this thing. I need to learn this thing to do this thing better. I need this skill to plot this thing. So it helps you to learn and it helps you understand better, because it just looks, when you're writing a paper, it looks like you're teaching or you're trying to communicate what you have known to others. And we know that when you're trying to teach others or when you're trying to demonstrate or explain something to others, you're understanding it better yourself. Review process and feedback from colleagues and other external reviewers can shape your research future, your future research. So it will help you, it will develop your writing skill, your communication skill, and even your reviewing skill. Before you know it, you yourself will become a reviewer. So my final words that I will read out to you is, do not run away from these apparently intimidating but rewarding processes of writing research publication to showcase your outputs to the world. So you have that new finding, publish it. These are the references I have used. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okwe.
Thank you so much for that.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed the session, could you just type yes in the chats? Type very big yes, and thank you to our speaker as we continue.
Capital letter or small letter?
Thank you so much. Right, so this is question time. And if you are comfortable to turn on your microphone and answer and ask your question, so just put your hands up so we're very organized. Or if you want, you could just send me a message and I will take your questions up from there. So you see lots of yeses. So thank you very much once again, our speaker, for that. Okay, so while we're waiting for the questions to come on, some things really stood out for me, like getting a target journal, getting a topic, information search, keep your source file, get your structure, attend seminars, be open to feedback. So you see, all these things just keep going on and on and on and on in various areas of our lives. So as we take all these things home, we'll definitely get better. Like she told us, do not be afraid of this process. It's very rewarding and you will come out smiling. So we'll jump into the question section now. The first question we have here, before I take those that are putting up their hands, I already had a question earlier. So the first question is about research ethics. Like if you're reviewing someone's research or you're trying to make your own research, so what's the place of research ethics? So that's what the person is trying to know.
Okay, so research ethics is key. So when you're trying to review someone's work, it actually, and that's why many times you see people reviewing someone's work anonymously. So it's encouraged, or sometimes you don't know the person and I don't know the person, so there's no conflict of interest. So you're just doing your work objectively. And so as much as possible, you want to be very objective. And then for every permission, you need to take the permission. Now we see a lot of reputable journals, we tell you, come and sign if there is any conflict of interest between authors or even institutions, because some institutions that you get data from, they will tell you, don't use the data, don't publish the data till 3 years. So if they see the data outside and you are acknowledging them that they're the one that give you data and they see it, they can sue those companies. So you want to make sure you do the right thing and stick to it.
Yeah. That's very true. If you're wanting to put yourself out there, you should be ready to know that things have laws and rules, and you just have to stick to them. You have to know it. There's no question of I was not aware, because that's just going to be like a termination of your career or something. So let's all make sure we get all the information we need for whatever action we want to take. So I see Oluwatoyin's hand up. If you unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Sister Taiwo. I was able to follow through this session, and I understood a lot of the information. They're very relevant to writing journals and papers and things. But when you go to the part of plagiarism check, that's websites where you can do this. You give a list of them. And one important one was Turnitin, which we're already used to because the school uses that basically. But you also mentioned the ones that are kind of less reliable, such as the Grammarly. I'm used to Grammarly. I use it a lot to check spellings and mistakes and all those things. So is it that it's not credible enough, or we shouldn't use it at all, or we should limit how we use it? Because it's cheaper than the others. So I don't know if you, okay, then so that's my first question. Secondly, okay, I just want to say the last talk we had last month, we all dropped our emails to receive the PowerPoint slides, but I never got an email. So I don't know if we'll receive this one as well, because I think I need the information, please.
I promise you, I'll make sure you get it, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the first question, we are sorry, G-Light, we're sorry for not sending you the email. I don't know how that escaped us. For the Grammarly, so Grammarly is good for editing. I use Grammarly. It's good for editing, for spell check and all that. But according to Strafic that did that study in 2020, they have stated that all those other ones, people can use them. They can use them because they are cheap, but he's not recommending them for plagiarism. You can use them for your spell check, for your grammar and all that is good, but for plagiarism itself is not recommended. So since you're a student and you have access to Turnitin, I think it's better to just do it on Turnitin, do it in Turnitin.
Right, okay. It's hard to escape Grammarly because it jumps at you at any time. You open YouTube, Grammarly, you open this, Grammarly is everywhere. So sometimes it's hard to avoid it. And again, we're talking about discovering a problem. So if you feel you like Grammarly and what's his name is saying Grammarly is not, so you could research on that and publish it as well, and then we could cite you, So thank you for that feedback. Adebo Paul, sorry if I didn't get your name pronounced properly. If you could answer ask your questions, please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, welcome.
Sister, thank you very much for this exhaustive teaching. It's really opened my eyes to a whole lot of things I really want to know about writing publications. But then I have a peculiar situation. I just finished my undergrad and I'm looking to pursue for a graduate program. And then I'm positioning that I publish my project work. Then the situation I have is that during my undergraduate project, I had less supervision from my project supervisor because he's always busy, and so I was able to pull through. I was able to do to do it the way I'm supposed to. Even when external supervisor came, I was applauded and all that. I ended up getting an A in my project. But now in publishing, I have a fear that the less supervision I got, maybe it's going to affect me, because this time around, this was more than just, this was my project and defense was within the walls of my department. But then publishing my work is putting it before the global community. I have a fear. And then the only person I could take my work to for him to help me go through it before I publish it is the same person who supervised me, who did not have my time, who gave me less supervision during. So I don't know. I want to ask, should I put this work I want to publish, do I put it up for peer review journal, just as you said? Or what should I do? I really don't know what to do.
Thank you for that.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
And yet I'm trying to include it as a published, I'm trying to include it as a publication on my CV in positioning for graduate studies.
Okay. Okay, so that's very simple. You can't tell me that the field you have done your thesis in, no other person knows it in the university there or even in another university. So if your supervisor cannot give you all the support you need, there's someone else that can give you the support. And so that is why it is not only 2 authors that we can have. We can have first author, second author, third author, and you can keep having the list of authors. So you want to discuss this with someone else. And it's only fair that probably because he's your supervisor and he will see the publication, he might take the second place. So he has to do some work too. So when you are stating it when you are stating the work of every author, you can give him something credible he did. So you can write it out, give him to read. He's the co-author and probably will be the second author. Give it to someone else in that field that knows, whether in your university or in other universities. So when you look at papers, you see something like Star 1, Adiagbo, Federal University of Technology, Mina, then 2, Okoyemeta, University of Aberdeen. So we can actually be in different places. Look up somebody that would contribute to the work, and then in the manuscript, just say the person read and ensured the adherence and so all that. So if there's someone that can help you. So just search out that person and include the person. Then I would also want to say you should kindly hold on. I know we want to make our CVs very robust and all that, but we want to be very truthful. So maybe you want to keep it a while, you've worked on it, you've sent it in, and then you can now write the topic in brackets in review. Is that fine?
All right, thank you very much. So just like you go to research for journals on paper, research for someone that would help you. There's somebody out there that will be interested to help you. So we take the last question from Yakubu. If you ask your question.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okwe. That was quite expository and explosive. Yeah, I have a question or two, but before I ask my question, I just want to make some comments about who we are and what we do and how we can progress. You know what I mean? I want to respond to the first part that talked about research ethics. You know, a lot about research ethics. You need to know the rules and work by the rules. I got contacted quite recently to review a paper, and the person that asked me to review the paper is my friend. So my friend submitted a paper to a journal, and then they will ask you to suggest reviewer, and he suggested me, and it came to my table to review the paper. And I knew that my own intellectual integrity, professional ethics is at stake. I spoke with another colleague about it, and the advice is, yeah, you can review it, but you must state to the journal editor the conflict of interest. So to make it clear that, hang on, this person, I know this person, and I'm going to be objective as possible, but I know this, I'm not part of this work. I don't know about, but I know this person. So the idea is, if I review it and in the future, there might be a question that, there might be something that will question my integrity, that I was subjective in that review. So that goes a lot to talk about when we say research ethics. We need to know the rule and work by it. So the next thing I want to talk about is collaboration. Paul asked a question about wanting to publish and all that. I want to say this is G-Light Ambassadors. So we are Deeper Life Campus Fellowship, as it were, an analogy, if you like, in Aberdeen. We're under Deeper Life Bible Church, and we have different professionals, intellectuals in both University of Aberdeen and Robert Gordon University. And we're quite open to intellectual collaborations. So you might be in the field of, say, maybe you are mechanical engineering, petroleum engineering, and you're worried about one thing, or you want to collaborate. You are University of Lagos, University of Port Harcourt, Futo, Owerri, and all of that. You can get across to us. My expertise is more in that area. Chemical engineering, we have Onoja. He has completed his PhD as well. You can contact Brother Onoja or send an email to G-Light Ambassador. You can send to our email address, or drop a message on our Facebook. We'll be able to respond to it. Sister Okwe talking to you now. She's more in geosciences, more in paleontology. Last month, we listened to Sister Temi. Sister Temi is a lot about mathematical modeling in the energy sector, data analytics. We have one of us doing his PhD in decommissioning. So I like to say, we are quite open, like Paul talking about this. This is something you can say, what's your area in chemical engineering? Fine and good. You can actually discuss with us, get linked up to Brother Onoja, and Brother Onoja can give you lots of review, lots of rework, add more flesh to it, and you can actually publish the paper. Research ethics come to play again. That would be, you definitely will get the consent of your supervisor to bring him on board, and it's going to give another view to the work, fleshing it up. And when it's being published, you're going to have you, your supervisor, whoever is there, and Bro Noja. Quite recently, I did a work for somebody. This is my brother, my immediate elder brother, doing a program in University of Port Harcourt. They did all of the experiments there at University of Port Harcourt. He made all the data to me in Microsoft Excel. All the analysis, I did it here in Aberdeen. So I practically did the write-up and everything. Now, the paper, we're going to publish it, and there's a presentation that has been accepted already for a conference in Texas in the US in November, Society of Petroleum Engineers Journal. And there in the name, you're going to see it, the supervisor coming from Uniport. You go to see my brother from his company, Total, and you see my name in the paper from Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. I've never seen the woman. My brother was just the linkage. So these are the kind of collaborations that you can actually get. And I also want to say, Sister Okwe has been very exhaustive, but don't think we're discussing only for lecturers and for PhDs. My undergraduate work was published. My supervisor worked on it after I left. 3-4 years after I left the uni, it was published. And he told me, and in my profile on my Google Scholar page, it is there. And it is one of the things that gave me other opportunities. My wife, undergraduate, is also published. When she left the uni, the supervisor did a few work and it was published. So we are not actually speaking to just PhDs or just lecturers. We're speaking to everybody. undergraduate, postgraduate, whatever you've done, there's some novelty, there's some work in it. Get across, get out there, get feedback from other professionals. And it's going to be a door opener for you in the future. Have you published before? Yes. It shows you know what the area is about. Your work has been reviewed and all that. I don't want to go through the talk all afresh again. Sister Akwe has done the job. Now, my question to Sister Akwe is this. Don't mind me talking much. Somebody sent me a private message asking for one of the presentation slides. So please, if you need any of the presentation slides, just drop your email, not on the public chat. The person gave me a direct message, and that is absolutely fantastic. Please, when you see the moderator today, Grace is moderating, send her your email or whatever, or you go on our Facebook page, like the Facebook page, G-Light Ambassadors, Aberdeen, or Deeper Life Campus Fellowship, Robert Gordon University. You can drop us Facebook message and we'll get across to you. So my question is this. We want to publish in high impact journals, and these are mostly subscription based or hybrid. Sometimes we don't pay the money. And when you publish the work, you have the option to publish in supposedly low impact journal and you will be cited. We published a work at the end of 2019, and right now it's got about 14 citations. It's shooting our Google Scholar, my colleague and I. Whereas the one that I published, both first and second author, is there in an Elsevier journal that is locked up in one cupboard. Before you see it, you need to pay 25 pounds or 25 or $5, except your university has subscription. I take that one as more because we do the job. The quality is more, but it's locked up somewhere. People don't get to see it for free, and it doesn't get cited. But this one is just gets cited everywhere: China, US, Canada, and all of that. What do you advise? Let's go for the supposedly low impact, but it's free so people can see us, or we'll go to the high impact 3.5 and it's locked up somewhere. What do you think in your own experience?
Honestly, just like I said during the presentation, so it's not about, the truth is this high impact, you're even lucky that they even got to publish it. They reject it. They just feel this work is not up to the standard of our journal. So most times, the higher the impact, the more the rejection from them. So it's just better to get your feedback, work on it very well. Send it to something not as high as the other one. Make it open access because you're just trying to build your career. When you are seen very well and then people cannot do without your paper, you can now say, okay, I want to go to where it can be locked up somewhere. People don't mind paying, but how many people really want to pay to download the paper when there are many other papers probably saying almost the same thing? So my advice for upcoming researchers is just not poor impact, moderately good impact that can get you exposed would be my option.
Great, thank you very, very much for that. You've heard from our boss, so he said so many things. And yeah, so don't be afraid. We're not just talking to lecturers or just PhD students. As an undergraduate, you can post. We've got lots of people with their undergraduate thesis out there, and people are reading it. So go out there, don't hide the information you have, share it so that one day we could, Google something and reference you as well. So in the closing words of our speaker, explore, gain expertise, remain relevant, keep learning, and improve your understanding on things. And with that, we are moving to the next section. And we just want to cap it up. Like we say, we are G-Light ambassadors. We love book and we love God. So we just want to, put the icing on the cake before we go today. So happy listening. Thank you very much. Our speaker for today.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to talk about this book. Yeah, it was published about let's say 1611. Yeah, I can't put the number of years together, but it's called the Bible. As Christians, we read the Bible. So I just want to talk about something someone discovered in this book. And I think that is one of the most important, or one of the most, important or the most significant discovery in history. I won't take time, just about 5 minutes just to share what I need to share. You see, as I look at this book, I see four things. I see, first of all, it's a book about who we are. And secondly, it's a book about what this world is. And thirdly, it's a book about God. And fourthly, it's a book about life when we leave this world. And today, I just want to focus on the first thing, who we are, because out there today, there are so many things, so many movements, so many people trying to place different identities on humans. And but who are we? Who are we? Who can we say we are as humans? What does it mean to be human? And it's even surprising today to think that despite all the technological advancement, we have gone to Mars, we have gone to space. You know, the ISS, the International Space Station, go around the Earth every 90 minutes. And we have made so many medical advancements, technological advancement, but we have not advanced our own course as humans. And it's strange for me to see books on humanity, big voluminous books trying to explain what it means for us to be human. And as a result of that, today we are almost in a crisis, because some people, if you use the word she, they get offended. They get offended. And so you begin to wonder, what has happened to us? Man has discovered so many things, and every day we are discovering. And today we are talking about the fifth force in the scientific world, which according to scientists, they believe it can actually tell how we got here. But the Bible made us to understand that God created man in his own image. And as I look at the Bible, I stumble over one discovery that made me to know who we are. And I just want to share that discovery. It was discovered by a man called David. Now, what did David discover? Now, let me just give you a little profile of who David was. David at the age of 17, killed a lion and a bear. David at 20 or 21 killed Goliath. David single-handedly, in many occasions, invaded the camp of the enemies and slew so many people. David raised so many men that were rejected, dejected, and he turned them to be great warriors. You can go on and see so many things that David discovered. But one of the things that David also found out, and which I believe is one of the greatest invention or innovation or discovery in history, is given in the book of Psalm chapter 51, verse 6. It said, "Behold, I was shaping in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me." So David was saying here that the greatest discovery, one of the greatest things I found in me, is the fact that there is a nature I bear that contradicts my greatness. In other words, I cannot understand this, that how can a man who has so much in his profile, who has achieved so much, if David was here today on any social media platform, I'm sure he will have more than 100 million followers, because this is a man that will always be celebrated for everything he has. But for him to come to this discovery of himself, that in sin did my mother conceive me, I think it's a very important thing for us to talk about. And I think it makes us to think about where we as humans come from and who we really are. So I look at the word of David and I say, well, as a researcher, I need to validate this. And I need to see what other people felt about this. And I went to the book of Romans, and I saw a man in Romans chapter 7, He was trying to describe the struggles within himself. And in Romans chapter 7, and his name was Paul, he was saying that the things he wants to do. Now, Paul is another intelligent scholar. And if you read the works of Paul, you know that he's one of the most outstanding men that ever lived. Not just because he was religious or anything, but even in his academic, in his works, you can read that this man is highly intelligent. And if you read verse Romans chapter 7, verse 21, he also made a discovery. He said, I find then a law that when I want to do good, evil is present in me. So he was validating what David discovered. So I said, okay, let me leave the Bible and let me come to our contemporary world. Are there men who feel the same way? And one day I was listening to the winner of an Olympic, and he just won a medal, and he was asked, what's your greatest struggle in life? And he said, to keep the thoughts of committing suicide, to keep away from the thought of committing suicide. And we have seen over celebrities and people who have made it to the highest level of life, the struggle with sin, the struggle with addiction, the struggle with one habit or the other. So all these discoveries make me to say, yeah, what David actually discovered was really a true discovery of who we are. But what should we do with that information? Now, if you read the works of Paul again in this verse on his own discovery, he said, but I thank God through Jesus Christ that I can be set free. So there is a way that we can actually be set free. And Paul discovered that way. He realized that by his own strength, he cannot do this. I don't want to do these things that are not good for my reputation. I don't want to be addicted to that habit. I don't want to be this. But how can I be set free? And even David, in his own time, too, came to the same conclusion. They say, how can the young man cleanse his ways? And he says it's by the words of God. So today, for us, I don't know what you were going through. I don't know what you were struggling with. But one thing you should know is there is a way out from everything. And when Jesus came, he said to his disciples, follow me and I will make you. And that's the same word that is coming to us today. I can make you to be what you want to be. And I can make you to be free from the wars, from the battles, from the conflict, from the hatred within us. And every time I think about man, I always wonder, how come? How is it possible that we can get to Mars today? How is it possible that we can get to the moon, to the space? But why is it so difficult that we cannot love our neighbor as ourselves? So the little thing, the Bible did not place any big demand on us. It's only placed a very simple demand on us. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love God with all your heart. Why is this very difficult? This is not rocket science. This does not need we don't need any mathematical calculation to evaluate this. But why is it very difficult? And this makes me to realize that there is something that man cannot achieve on his own. And that's why when Jesus was talking to Nicodemus, he said, you must be born again. And that is what we all need to do. Come to Christ, and he will give us a new life. And he will give us the power to live the new life. So don't restrain yourself. Don't limit your scope of life to want to be a researcher, to want to be an astronaut, to want to be a scientist, to want to be a journalist, to want to be an energy expert. Come to Christ. He said, follow me. I will give you a new purpose for life. I will give you the strength to be that perfect man. And everyone that ever came to Christ never regretted it. So when Paul discovered this and he put his trust in God, God gave him the strength. And in every aspect of his life, he was outstanding. And I pray that as we come to Christ today, he will make us outstanding in Jesus' name. Let's just pray this day and say, God, I come to you and I give you my heart. I come to follow you today. The Bible says, follow me. That's the voice of Jesus, and I will make you. In Jesus' name we pray. Lord, we thank you for your word. Thank you for showing us what you can do for us. And Lord, we know, you know our hearts, you know our struggles. You know the things we hate to do. You know the things that are not good for our reputations. You know the things that we cannot even share with anybody. But we have seen a way out today, that you, through Jesus, we can receive strength to overcome those things. And that's why we come to you today, that you will have mercy upon us and give us the new life that comes from your death on the cross. We pray, O Lord, that even in our endeavors in life, help us to be outstanding and successful. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, thank you very much for that amazing session. And in conclusion, we're just about time, and we're researching so many things. And if you've not answered the question about God in your life, no matter what you publish out there in Google Scholar, and no matter how many citations you get, you will still feel empty, very empty. So I pray that as we create the balance, as we put everything together, we will live happy. And, we fully researched our lives, and we're dying happy. And I want to say thank you very much for coming. And once again, if you just drop in the comment section, tell us how you feel about today and what you learned as we wrap it up for today's program. Thank you all very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then for those that have put on their email addresses, we're going to send you your email, the content of today's program. And if you want the previous one, please just send your email and tell me what topic or what session you want. Thank you all. Thank you.
Started changing, and I started having doubts, and it got me so down. But
thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Back up, and I started telling me, no, my life's not done, making me a masterpiece.
John is looking forward to next month. Very good.
Yes, I want to see next month.
I don't want to leave it. Please go on the Facebook page, like our Facebook page, RD, she like Ambassadors Aberdeen. Well done.
But he's proven I can trust in him.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So I can pick myself back up and keep on telling me, no, my God's not done, making me a masterpiece. No, my God's not done. He started something good, and I'm gonna believe it. He started something good, and he's gonna complete it. So I celebrate the truth. His work in me came through. I'm just unfinished. I'm just unfinished.
Thank you, Kevin, for your comments. We appreciate you back. Somebody is smiling now as you read the comments. Thank you, Sister Grace, for your job. Well done. God bless you, Sister Grace.